Hello, I'm Paul Okeke and I'm welcoming you to Government Class. Today we shall be looking at the topic mass media under the theme political parties, pressure groups, and elections. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to 1. Explain the meaning of mass media, 2. Discuss the role of the mass media in the day-to-day running of government, and 3. State the impact of the mass media on Nigerian politics. The history of mass media can be traced back to the days when dramas were performed in various ancient cultures. This was the first time a form of media was broadcast to a wide audience. Since its inception, mass media has gone on to be not only the most reliable way of reaching a wider audience, but also an effective tool used in checking the excesses of government and bringing laws and policies closer to the people. What is the meaning of mass media? Mass media refers to the various means through which information is transferred to a large group of people through different media technologies. By media technologies, we mean television, the internet, radio, and mobile phones. The mass media, besides being the most reliable and efficient means of reaching a large audience, also plays a key role in the accountability and transparency of any government to its citizens. Some of the functions the mass media play in the day-to-day running of the government include 1. The mass media serves as a link between the government and the people. The mass media is the vehicle through which the government informs, explains, and tries to win support for its programs and policies. Secondly, the mass media serves as a government watchdog. One of the most important functions of the mass media in the day-to-day running of government is that it brings the evidence of effective and ineffective government programs and policies closer to the people. Thirdly, the mass media keeps people informed. Over the years, the mass media has been regarded as the most reliable and fastest way of keeping the people informed with government policies and programs. Fourthly, accountability and transparency. The media, particularly the social media, makes the government accountable and transparent in its dealings with the people by pressurizing various government institutions. Lastly, the mass media shapes public opinion. The mass media also reports the results of public opinion polls and also shapes opinions with compelling messages. In discussing how far Nigerian politics has come, one cannot but mention the impact the mass media has played in such. This brings us to the impact of mass media on Nigerian politics. The impact of the mass media on Nigerian politics can easily be felt with the just concluded 2019 general elections. While many factors may have contributed to the just concluded general elections being referred to as the most participated election in the country's political history, the impact of the mass media cannot be neglected. Some of the impacts the mass media has had on Nigerian politics include 1. It enhances political awareness and participation. Research has shown that there are more young participants in government than there has ever been in the history of Nigerian politics. Secondly, good governance. Access to elected government officials was limited, but with the help of the social media, elected government officials are now more accountable to the people. Thirdly, reduction of political apathy among citizens. The mass media has helped reduce the lack of interest in politics among the electorates, particularly the younger generation. A very good example is a not too young to run bill that was recently passed into law back in 2018. Lastly, the mass media encourages bias. Although the mass media has had some positive impacts on the Nigerian politics, it has, however, also had some negative impacts. An example is when a media outfit sponsors slandering campaigns against an individual and are left unpunished because they are perceived to be doing their jobs. This is one of such negative impacts the mass media has had on the Nigerian politics. We've come to the end of this class, but before we go, let's take a quick summary of what we've learned so far. We learned that the mass media can be defined as a tool for the transfer of information from one place to a larger group of people. Also, we learned that mass media dates back in time to when plays and dramas were performed in various ancient cultures. Another thing we learned is that the mass media is the most reliable, efficient, and fastest way of transferring information to a larger group of people. Also, the mass media serves as a watchdog that checks the excesses of the government. In discussing the impact of the mass media on Nigerian politics, we also said that the mass media has increased the awareness and participation in politics amongst citizens. Finally, we learned that the mass media has also been a tool for slander among political rivals and private citizens. Before we go, let's take some test questions to test our knowledge on what we've learned. Question 1. The mass media may be defined as option a means of transferring information from one person to another. Option B, the communication tool used in the transfer of information to a large audience. Option C, the ways by which we see and hear. The correct answer is option B. We define the mass media as the communication tool used in the transfer of information to a large group of people. Question 2. Dash is not an impact of the mass media on Nigerian politics. Option A, increase in government revenue. Option B, increase in awareness and participation in politics. Option C, reduction in apathy among citizens. The correct answer is option A. Increase in government revenue is not an impact of the mass media on Nigerian politics. Before we say goodbye, I hope by now you'll be able to explain the meaning of mass media. And also, should you be asked to discuss the role the mass media plays in the day-to-day running of government, I'm sure you know just what to say. See you in our next class, and bye for now.